our Talkies, the Anjana Kumar show, and I am back again with our very special guest, Laura Everest. She's a mentor, she's a leadership consultant, she's also Dubai's leading Gallup Clifton strengths coach, and she is doing such an amazing work, transforming leaders, transforming professionals, and help them find their strength, and so they can achieve the most and the maximum out of it. Thank you so much, Laura, for coming back again.
Thank you for inviting me again.
Lovely. So in the last episode, we spoke about the importance of self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
How does one get there? Because not everyone perhaps is so aware of their strengths or weakness, because many times we just pass on, we just get on with our lives, accepting whatever is there. So how does one become aware?
I think that's a really good point that you've made. I think we're all so busy doing every day and getting on with stuff.
Yeah.
We don't really spend a lot of time reflecting on who we are and what we bring to the table.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, if I ask people where their strengths are or what is the value that they're bringing to their work, it takes some time to think about it. And I think as humans, we are innately wired to stay away from things that are threatening. So immediately, when things happen in our lives, we have a tendency to concentrate on what goes wrong and look at the gaps and the weaknesses.
Yeah.
And we don't actually look at the things we've achieved and think of them as successes. We just tick them off and go. Whereas what's really important is to be able to look at both and figure out what does that tell us in terms of who we are and the value that we add to this world. So I think, you know, when I work with people, I break it down into strengths. Now, obviously, I am a Gallup Clifton strengths coach. I've been doing it a very long time. And Gallup talk about 34 talent themes, and I work on the full 34. There's a lot of coaches in Dubai who work on what they call the top 5, but we are a whole complex personality, and so I believe in understanding, creating the full picture. So I look at the whole ambiance of the 34 strengths.
Right.
But that aside, the most important thing is to look and to try and understand, what do we think our strengths are? There are many things that we can learn to do in life.
Right.
And we can be good at so many things if we put our mind to it, but it doesn't mean that those are strengths.
Yeah.
Strengths are the things that come instinctively easy to us.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoy doing them. We just know that certain things we do it faster. Mm-hmm. We like to do it. We want to do more of those things. And it's almost when you're working, there's a challenge or a lot on, but you feel geared up to that challenge. It's not a frightening pressure or stress, because although it's a challenge, you're enjoying it because it's something that works to what you're good at. Those are strengths, as opposed to KPIs and competencies that we learn and we tick the box. We get it done.
Yeah.
Those are not strengths, they're competencies. So the thing is to get really clear on what is it that makes us feel great, that we're naturally, intrinsically good at. Yeah. And we all are, right? We're all born with different talents.
Yeah,
what do you think your talents are?
So mine, I think, is that I'm very determined as well. Like I'm a pusher. Like I go after what I want, but I do have my setbacks. Like I do get suddenly low, or if something doesn't work out, but I still go for it. Like I don't give up. I love people. I love being around people. So I have been in a profession that involves people, so which I'm really grateful for. But I also know my weaknesses. Like, for example, my impatience. Like I want to see quick results, and that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
Patience is a virtue, and that's something that I need to build on.
That's a really interesting one, because as much as I look at strengths, there are lots of things that can sound like that, but there's a strength called activator, which is very quick to make things happen.
Yeah.
It kind of learns as it goes along. I can't be sure that's one of your strengths, but it sounds a little like it, and it's certainly one of mine. And
That's me.
but every strength has its dark side. So apart from, if it's not in its sweet spot, sometimes it doesn't work in the best way for us.
Yeah.
And activators, for example, can get very impatient.
Yes.
I know it's something I struggle with all the time.
Okay.
So every strength that we talk about, I love to find out people's strengths and figure
Yeah.
out where they're at their best. But
Yeah.
also to recognise that, as I said,
Yeah.
every strength has a dark side,
Yes.
which means it works against us. There are also things
Yeah.
in life that we're just not good at.
Yeah.
And it can
yes.
be frustrating,
Yes.
but they're things that can deplete us and make us feel small. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to understand that in life we have strengths and we have non-talents.
Right.
Weaknesses, people think strengths and weaknesses are opposites, but they're not actually.
Mm.
A weakness is something that gets in the way of our success.
Yes.
So our strengths can be our biggest weakness, our non-talents can if we utilise them in the wrong way. So it's really important for people to understand what that looks like for them, to figure out the things in life that, apart from strengths, what are the things that trigger them, what are the things that deplete them, make them feel terrible, gives you an idea to where you're likely to struggle and the things that you need to be more aware of.
Yes.
When I work with leaders, it's really, really interesting. I do use the Gallup assessment because, quite frankly, with all the tools I've ever trained and worked with, this is the most accurate data I've ever found. It blew my mind away when I found it for me. And so I like to use it to have a very, very clear picture of what people bring to the table,
Right.
where their strengths would be, things that perhaps are going to be glare factors or things they're going to find that could trip them up. Things that, suggest on how to leverage that whole information.
Right.
Because the things that are non-talents for us
Yes.
are things that we just, perhaps not only are we not good at, we don't think about it.
Exactly.
I mean, my husband, for example,
Yeah.
his top strengths are the bottom of mine. So he's very analytical. He's all about data. I mean, me, sometimes. He's deliberative, which means he likes to have data, he likes to analyse, he needs time, he wants to think about things, not be put on the spot to make a decision. He likes to look at what can he do to avoid risk. My strengths are different. I have things that are much faster to action, and I think I'll learn as I go.
Yeah.
So I can say, let's do this, and he'll say, you're jumping into things, and I can say, you're just sitting on the fence.
Right.
Both are right, both are wrong, but the thing is, we need to understand what our whole strengths structure looks like for us, and to understand the things that we're not good at, because other people have that high. We need to know how to communicate, how to work best with them.
Yes.
So I get people to look at the full picture.
Right. Also, if I may add here, I think the strengths and the non-talents, if you like, also depends on the profession or the career you choose. So, or does one choose a career naturally based on their strength?
I think, here's the thing. If you are not good at drawing, there is no point looking for a career as an artist. Okay,
Yes.
so let's be honest. That's where your strengths do come in.
Yes.
But in actual fact, your strengths don't necessarily tell you what career to have. It will tell you that within your role, what your approach to that role is, as opposed to somebody else who might be doing the same role as you. Their approach will be different. So it's understanding what you bring to a role that's different to somebody else. And that is really, really important now.
Yes.
When you think of being in a workplace, there are, unfortunately, when I go to networking events, people will tell me, hello, this is my name, this is my company, this is my job title. And I think, well, I know absolutely nothing about you, because titles are
correct.
Anything, right?
Correct.
But you usually find there are hundreds and thousands of people who are doing a similar job to you.
Yeah.
So how do you stand out?
Yeah.
And the point of understanding your strengths is to know what makes you unique.
Right.
What do you bring to your role that somebody else who's doing a similar role does differently?
Right.
And it's understanding how to leverage that information so that you are aiming your career direction direction in an authentic way for you, leveraging your strengths, but knowing how you stand out.
Right. Very beautiful. So, do you think youngsters should take this up, discover and become more self-aware, so it just can help them choose the right paths in careers?
Look, being emotionally intelligent is important for everybody.
Yeah.
It is known that young people, it takes, I think, if I get this quite right, it's not until they're really at their late teens are they able to start becoming more emotionally intelligent. But the reality is that I have done strengths coaching for, I started it, I say with my kids, but I waited until they were in their late teens.
Okay.
And then we look at how they're forming, what they bring to the table, and start leveraging that information.
Right.
You can see certain things from when your children are young, for example. You can see instinctively the way they think, the way they do things.
Right.
My daughter has she's unbelievably creative. She's a creative thinker. She's amazing in terms of turning creative ideas into stuff.
Yeah.
And I realized very early that she would have some kind of career direction with that in mind.
Exactly.
And ideation, which is all about creative thinking, is her number one strength.
Yeah.
So, you see things and you can nurture them.
Yeah.
But it's really important not to try and aim your kids to be a complete all-rounder, because then, you've heard of that thing, that whole saying, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
So it's really important to start looking what makes you stand out, and what's really, really important for anybody is to, rather than get stuck in what hasn't worked in a day and think, how do I fix, what do I need to do, is to start looking in your day of what did you do in your day that went well? What did you complete today? And to look at those as wins and to say, what was I doing to make those things happen? Because those are the things those little tick boxes are your successes. And the way to create more sustainable success is to look at what you were doing to create those and say, what was I doing? How do I make more of those things happen?
Sure.
That's the way to create a bigger opportunity for yourself than to get stuck in what's not working and fixing weakness. So you have to manage weaknesses, but when you're looking at how you build yourself better, studying success and building from success is always going to be your way forward, because it's a path of least resistance.
Absolutely. And you've met global leaders. You've actually transformed their lives.
I hope so.
I'm sure. I trust that you have. So would you sort of tell us about some challenges that global leaders face, and how did you tackle that?
Okay, so for example, I have seen somebody who is absolutely terrific in their role, has so much to bring to the table, was struggling sometimes to complete things, and fantastic at bringing people together, fantastic at making things happen, being a catalyst for action, and it's bringing so many people and different things together, but struggles to complete things. Couldn't understand why, was trying to formulate a 3-year and 5-year plan and couldn't get their head around that, and said, I don't understand why I'm not doing it. I'm trying and I've just got a mental block. When we actually looked at their strengths profile, they have a strength called adaptability. Now that may sound that everyone wants it, but adaptability, that particular strength, for example, enables people to be very quick to react to current situations, to be able to respond to what people need in the here and now, to be able to manage without overstressing, to overcome issues here on a daily basis without kind of getting overstressed. So it's great in terms of getting things done and helping others achieve what needs to happen. But what tends to happen is, because they're very much about the here and now, they think the future will kind of unveil itself one day at a time. So it will get done at some point. Consequently, how that looks is that they may not always see their priorities through to the end. They don't want to plan 3 years and 5 years ahead because that's the future and we're dealing with the now.
Wow.
So what we needed to do, what we find works very well in this respect, is rather than try and set long-term goals, which obviously this person was struggling to achieve, we've actually brought the goalposts much, much closer, and we set short-term goals. And when we do that, it gets done.
Okay.
So these are ways in which I've helped certain people overcome some of their bigger issues.
Wow, that's amazing. That's brilliant. Anything else important to add, Laura?
Oh golly. Well, I could talk about this all day, but I would be most happy if you've got people who are curious to know exactly what they're bringing to the table, what you're bringing to the table, and would love to understand that.
Yes.
I've been doing this for so long that I could talk about this forever.
Right.
So, I think it comes down to people, if you've got people who come into you with ideas, I'm very happy to follow up in whatever train of thought that goes
Absolutely, that's exactly how we want to end this podcast. We want to invite each and every one of you, those who want to figure out your strength, do reach out to Laura Everest. Her details will be posted on the YouTube, and we will also be sharing this on our Instagram platform. So do reach out to Laura, do reach out to us. We can help you find your strength and all the success that you need. For now, it's a wrap from me, Anjana Kumar. Thank you, Laura.
Pleasure.